We're going to go ahead and move on to Nicholas Flandrensis of the Grand Duchy of Flandrensis, and he'll be speaking on the subject of gaining citizenships in ecological micronationalism. The floor is all yours, sir.
Thank you. I made 2 small videos about my presentation. Stephen, can you...
You want me to play those now?
Yes, please.
Yes, I will. All right, here we are. And we're going to go with, which one do you want to do first? Do you want to do...
Start with gaining more citizenships.
Okay. All right, let me go ahead. No problem.
Hello, welcome at MicroWorkshop. First of all, I want to thank the Commonwealth of Dracul for the organization of this event and for asking me to give a presentation about how to gain more citizens. My name is Nicolaas de Mers-Dooyenberge. I'm the head of state of the Grand Duchy of Flandrensis, and I'm a micronationalist since 2008. Right now, I have a micronation with currently 701 citizens. Let me start with a contradiction. You need or you don't need many citizens to be a successful micronation. And I have 2 examples. First is Ladonia, one of the world's most well-known micronations. And last year, they had almost 23,000 citizens. And then you have Malaysia. They have 33 citizens, including some dogs. And every week, people are asking on their Facebook group for citizenship of Malaysia. But President Bo only grants citizenships to people with a full resident in the Republic of Malaysia. And still, he is one of the most successful micronations in the world. So the question is, why do we need citizens? And many micronations refer to the Montevideo Convention. To be recognized as an actual state, you need to have a permanent population. On this slide, we have pictures of 3 micronations: the Republic of Sauget and Principality of Ecmarts in France, and the Principality of Ciboga in Italy. All 3 of them are real villages. But that doesn't mean that all inhabitants of the village are a citizen of the micronation. Imagine that the Empire of Atlantium, a tiny house with 1 bedroom, need to host their 3,000 citizens. And other micronations like Flandrensis or Ladonia don't have a permanent population. So in my opinion, the Montevideo Convention isn't always the right instrument for a micronation. So the big question remains, why do we want citizens for my micronation? Is it for your ego, because you want to share your mission or your beliefs? Or maybe you just realize that you need help with your micronation. So in the next slides, I give some advice based on my own experience as a micronationalist. Many micronations are disappointed if they don't reach 100 citizens within the first year. But be realistic, because it's more fun to start your own micronation instead of joining one. Secondly, I always call that micronationalists are actually little dictators. It's my project, and I don't want to risk that other people will ruin my creation. And that's one of the reasons why most micronations disappear within the first 6 months. So you need to realize you cannot do everything alone. Give your citizens responsibility, otherwise you will lose them. But where should you start? In Flandrensis, I start with my close friends and family. And the first 21 Flandrensians were all my close friends. And the first outsider was someone from the Netherlands. He joined after that Flandrensis already existed for 1 year. Once you have citizens, it's very important to be active outside the internet. The first years with Flandrensis, we organized a lot of cultural activities. National championship pool, national championship bowling, the Flandrensian games, the smartest Flandrensian, Flandrensis MasterChef, and so going on. Use your micronation to keep in touch with your friends. And once you have those activities, take pictures of them and share them on social media, because candidate citizens always want to see the face of the people behind the micronation. And how more publicity you have, you get in the picture in the micronational community, then you possibly have some attention from local media, later national or international media. And because of those publications and attention, you get new citizens. And once you have citizens in several countries, appoint them as an ambassador and give them the job to recruiting new citizens, their friends, their family. And don't limit your communication only on social media, because a good website is the basics to inform new citizens. When you have citizens, it's very important to keep them motivated. And Flandrensis, my Minister of Foreign Affairs, is really good in debating and diplomacy. I have an artist in India who is responsible for oral propaganda. And my chief in arms is really an expert in heraldism. So, and even the Flandrensis Times was run for several years by a teacher who actually want to study journalism. So use their skills and talents, give them some responsibility within your micronation. A very important advice is be very careful with passports. They are looking very professional, but after the Arab Spring 2010, I received a lot of application from refugees. And at Flandrensis, we use certificate of citizenships. Even in wrong hands, people can do anything wrong with a certificate. If you give passports, you never know what can happen, but as an example of an ambassador who went to the airport and tried to use the passport of his micronation. And then the micronational head of state gets some telephone from the police. Another problem we all have are the title collectors. You can allow or forbid dual citizenship in your micronation, but you can also make it very difficult to join a micronation. Ask for motivation, like lost his land, make an examination like a West Arctica, or ask an administrative cost like the Emperor of Atlantium. But always respect the privacy of the citizens. You cannot share names with other micronations to check double citizenship, because if you share names without the permission, it's a very big violation of the GDPR. So that is the European Data Protection and Privacy Regulation. And for Flandrensis, we also have many citizens who are teachers, who are working for the government. So give the possibility to use a pseudonym. In Flandrensis, they need to register with a real name and real identity, but we allow them to use a pseudonym inside the micronational community, especially for professional reasons. My final advice is give active citizen an award, titles, medals, etc. It's a sign of appreciation you give, because happy citizens are active citizens. Or you can always increase your population in a natural way. For example, the past 12 years, we have in Flandrensis already 11 Flandrensian babies. I have now come to the end of my presentation. I thank you all for your attention, and I'm happy to answer any question you may have. Thank you.
All right. Well, we certainly appreciate that. So that was over that wonderful topic of gaining citizens. So does anybody have any questions on gaining citizens for Nicholas of Flandrensis?
Okay, so thank you, Stephen, for showing the video. I'm so happy that I make a video, because with 6 children here in the garden, I'm so happy I don't need to do a live presentation with all that noise. Thank you for the questions. The first contact I had with with local media, it was in 2012, and so that was after the pollination conference, when I shared some pictures of myself and the president of Malaysia and the Queen of Ladonia on our Facebook page, and one of my friends shared it on his Facebook page, and one of the local journalists noticed the picture, and he contacted me for an interview. So if you want to have, it's better that journalists are coming to you instead of that you are contacting them. If you have pictures of activities, it's very important. You want to see something that's interesting to write about it. And I know mostly they always write articles in the months between July and August. We call it here in Belgium the komkommertijd. It's of the cucumber time. So it's a time that there's not much news, and journalists are looking for articles to write something about it. So before you can share and posting pictures on Instagram, but I think it's much better that you are put your energy in a very good website, because the journalist will always do his research, and he will not go to your Instagram profile, but he will go to your website. Is there a lot of information on your website, a lot of pictures, pictures of real live activities. If you can make a plugin of your Facebook or Twitter page on your website, so you can see that you are active. So that this is my advice.
Okay. Does anyone have any other questions for Nicholas? If anybody has any questions at the end, we'll certainly get those answered too. We're going to go ahead and move on to video number 2 from Flandrensis, ecological micronationalism.
Hello, welcome at MicroWorkshop. First of all, I want to thank the Commonwealth of Dracul for the organization of this event and for asking me to give a presentation about ecological micronationalism. My name is Nicolas de Mesch Doyenberger. I'm the Grand Duke of Flandrensis, an Antarctic micronation, and I'm a micronationalist since 2008. When I started in 2008, like many of you, I searched information about micronations on Wikipedia. And I remember that on that page, there were 5 reasons why people would start a micronation: political simulation, cultural project, historical simulation, an artistic project, or a new nation project. We are now 12 years later, and I'm convinced we can add ecological micronationalism to this list. Because many micronations are a reflection of the founders' ideals. And especially the past years, climate change is more important than ever. I give a few examples of ecological micronations. And of course, I'll start with Flandrensis. Our motto is no humans, only nature. Actually, we are an environmental non-profit organization that use the creative concepts of a micronation. And with the claim to be the only country in the world that doesn't want to be inhabited by humans, it's our mission or dream that Antarctica will be one big protected maritime area. And when Flandrensis is the only country that doesn't want any humans on its territory, another example is the Empire of Angelista. They claim the horizon, but they also claim the big plastic garbage patches in the oceans. So they are the only country that hopes that its territory will disappear. Another French micronation is the Principality of Ecmarts. They are the only micronation with an active local currency and its incorporation with the city of Ecmarts and the local merchants. And what is so special to the Flamand, the local currency, is that you can only use the money to buy local products. So everything is made in Ecmarts. So in this case, they support local farmers and they promote local food. And Flandrensis and Ecmart have a very special relationship. Ecmart is one of the many cities that will disappear within 100 years when the sea levels will rise. Or in other words, if Flandrensis melts, Ecmart will disappear. So a few years ago, we signed an ecological charter in which we promised that both micronations and all citizens will do any efforts to fight against climate change. And my last two examples are Italian micronations. The left picture is from the micronation of Bardo. It's a sanctuary for animals, and the basic principle is living in balance with animals and nature. The right picture is from the entrance of the micronation to the Republic of Alcatraz, and they are a community of artists in the mountains around Perugia, and their community is completely self-sufficient. And Alcatraz was also the host of the pollination conference in 2015. And I remember that during the dinner, we discussed the environmental problems in the world. And this was even before the Paris Climate Agreement. And suddenly we say, you know what, let us sign a climate treaty. And each micronation wrote on a paper what they will do against climate change. This was the first inter-micronational ecological treaty. And in 2017, at microcon in Atlanta, just a few weeks after former President Trump withdrew the United States from the Paris Agreement, we signed the Micronational Declaration on Ecological Stewardship. And already more than 30 micronations have signed this declaration. And all of these treaties, including our Flandrensis policy, are based on the 4 ecological pillars. It's reduce energy, reduce water consumption, recycle, and local food. And I give a few examples how we translate these ecological pillars in Flandrensis. We organize a lot of cleanup actions, and we ask all our citizens around the world to do their part. It's even obligated for the members of our diplomatic corps or ambassadors and consuls to organize cleanup actions. This is a picture from citizens in Italy. Some Flandrensian citizens are helping a local organization with planting a new forest. One of our projects are the climate letters. So we started with this project in 2016, and we investigate the ecological policy of all countries in the world. And we already sent 91 letters to governments around the world. And most letters are letters of support. No, it's not true. Some letters are letters of support, but to my regret, most of those letters are protest letters. And we also ask in every letter the support to transform Antarctica into one big maritime protected area. But we don't only send protest letters, we also protest in real life. The left picture is a Flandrensian citizen in the city of Modena, Italy, who is protesting against the removal of trees to make place for parkings for cars. The right picture is a poster created by a Flandrensian citizen after Japan decided to restart the whale hunting in Antarctica for their so-called scientific research. So we went to London and we protested in front of the Japanese embassy. Many of our citizens also participated in climate marches. So this is a picture taken by a citizen in Luxembourg. And of course, as head of state of a micronation, you need to give the good example to your citizens. So to inspire them what they can do in daily life to help the climate. And it's very important to realize that your micronation is not a big international organization with the financial funds to launch campaigns like Greenpeace. But in micronationalism, you don't need to think big. Actually, you just think logic or ecological and act just like, for example, again, the local currency in Ecmarts. And another good example is from the Emperor of Angelista. They have a ban of water and plastic bottles in the micronation. And when they organized the conference in Vincent in 2018, everything was fair trade, local foods, and everything, even the mugs for the coffee, were from recycled material. I believe that micronationalism can have a role in climate change. If we all encourage our citizens to do small and easy actions in daily life, together, micronations can make a difference. And I have now come to the end of my presentation, and I'm happy to answer any questions you may have. Thank you.
All right, that was Nicholas Flandrensis on ecological micronationalism. Does anyone have any questions for Nicholas at this time on the presentation? Any questions on climate change? Any questions at all pertaining to protesting against any types of whaling or any questions at all? And if you have any questions that you're not thinking about right now, we'll certainly come back at the end. So certainly write down them so you don't forget them. There you go.
So, okay. So thank you everyone for your attention. Thank you also for the questions I received in the chat. And if you have any questions, you can always ask them later or send me an email at info@flandrensis.com. So thank you everyone. And again, to the Commonwealth of the Crew, thank you for organizing this beautiful event.